You know what? Fine. I will admit, in the last 10 years, yes, Hasbro produced some really good Transformer toys. Even I can admit that. But let's not kid ourselves. The last decade has not been all sunshine and roses. Transformers has screwed up plenty. And it's got fans really annoyed and really irritated for a long time now. So let's not forget, because we don't want to repeat the past, now do we? We want to look forward to the future, and that means not screwing up like we've been doing. So this goes out to Hasbro. I love you, but you screwed up. And just to drive the point home, we are going to take a look at, in no particular order, 10 of the biggest blunders in the last decade of Transformers. Hasbro, why? Why did you do it? Paramount, why did you do it? At least two or three times he said he was done. He said he was walking away and that would be it. It would be his last movie. Why did you keep paying Michael Bay to come back? You single-handedly made sure that the biggest thing that ever happened to this franchise is also going to be remembered as one of the most disastrous things, because, okay, sure, they make box office gold, but they're also known as extremely bad movies that are not exactly going to stand the test of time here. You know, we've got, it's not even a matter of like, ooh, explosions, or, ooh, womanizing, or ooh, frat boy humor. No, just even in Michael Bay's basic directing style, it's just so terrible for Transformers. The oversaturation in the colors, the weird angles that he shoots at, and the obsession with showing military. I don't know why we made the military the main characters in a Transformer movie, but we kind of did. And we have the proof now. Now we have the proof that if you let the directors change and you let them go in a different direction, it will be well received. And we can have not only Transformer movies that make good money and sell a lot of toys, but we can also have movies that we're willing to go back and actually watch again. Wouldn't that be a nice thing? No, we got like two of those. 3 if we include the original animated. So yeah. Why did we keep letting Bay go? Oh, but don't think Bumblebee is without error either. Don't get me wrong, I actually really like Bumblebee. I think, for live action, it's probably the best made Transformer movie, certainly the most competent, and it gave me what I wanted to see on the big screen. Actual Transformer characters that look like and act like Transformers. It's kind of amazing. And the Transformers were actually like depicted as real characters and not set pieces, and the Decepticons were deceptive. Oh my god. But you know what else happened? In the lead up to Bumblebee, we're trying to get a feel for this movie and go in with the right expectation, and we never actually got that because the producer was going on just one press junket after another and couldn't really figure out what his own movie was. For whatever reason, there was a point where it seemed like just like within a week, the guy went out in public and said that Bumblebee was a prequel or a reboot or a spin-off at the same time. Now, okay, you can call it a spin-off, kinda. It really isn't. But either it's a reboot or it's a prequel. You kind of have to pick one or the other. And the director is, the director's fine. Travis Knight's fine. The producer went on and said, well, he doesn't like the term reboot because he doesn't know what that means. It means you're taking the same concept and doing it again. It means you're trying to make it better than it was before. So, like, you're rebooting the continuity. You're starting over. That's all it means. I don't know why that's hard for a film director who should have heard that word, repeated ad nauseum, because Hollywood's been doing that forever. So it gets on my nerves, way more than it should, that all we needed, like if we had been told from the beginning, this is a reboot, can you imagine how much better the press for the movie would have been? Can you imagine how many more people would have given it a chance because they knew it wasn't any connection to the Michael Bay crap? But we didn't get that, and Bumblebee did well enough, but let's be honest, it could have done a lot better based on what Transformers had done in the past. You just had to be consistent in the marketing, that's all I'm asking for. Machinima. I don't think I have to say any more than that, but I have to fill out time in this video to create content, so I guess I'm going to have to explain more than that. So you're going to give an animation company that really only knows how to animate by playing video games the license to do a full-on Transformers cartoon series, and we're going to revolve everything around the current collector's toys, which means this is going to be heavily scrutinized by the people that grew up with G1 and Beast Wars and Animated and Prime and all the great shows that came before. And now you're going to tell me that this is going to measure up. Well, no, not really. You don't give the license to an animation company that has no reputation for real animation. You just don't do that. I'm assuming it's because it was the cheapest way of getting it made. I mean, it had to be because they didn't hire a whole lot of real voice actors, especially in season 1. They went to a lot of internet talent. And don't get me wrong, a lot of really good internet talent exists out there. A lot of good voice actors first came from being internet performers. And, like, I can't hate on John Bailey. Good friend of mine, proud as hell that he got to be an official Optimus Prime. But you know what? He's also under a very bad director who's not pushing anyone to the performance they could be pushed toward. And even when you get experienced voice actors in there, and voice actors who came back to do their own characters, they just don't sound like they sound like they're phoning it in, and they don't have someone at the helm who's like pushing them to have the good performances. Like, your only little shining moment in that entire series is Megatron. He's fantastic, well deserved to get his name and get his place in the new animation for Netflix. But it's not even just poor execution. Remember, this is the show that they build as, like, literally, they went on interviews and said this was going to be the Game of Thrones of Transformers. Yeah, if the whole series was Game of Thrones final season, maybe. If it was that level, maybe. Yeah, final season wasn't even out by then. This is kind of like prophetic in a way. It's also pathetic that you actually thought you could make such a cheap Transformers series and get it by us. Even if you book Mark Hamill as the main villain, that's not good enough. Your series was still crap, and everyone is going to call it crap forever, including this guy. What happened to BotCon? Like, seriously, and I don't even mean, like, where did it go? I know what happened to it. FunPub lost the license, but they rightfully lost the license. I mean, why did Hasbro allow BotCon to end up in the state that it became? Because it became obvious that as the years went on, the creativity just completely fell off and the interest fell off. Year after year, we were presented with box sets that seemed to have a really hard time maintaining their own theme. I have a Generation 2 box set from BotCon with 2 Generation 2 characters who were unreleased toys, 2 characters from Euro G1, and an RID character. That doesn't really add up as a G2 Redux, does it? Technically speaking, no one in that box set was actually from Generation 2, if you really want to think about it that way. And the set got even weirder, for then most other figures were Euro G1. The troop builder that year was completely G1. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it is so hard for them to just go, here's G2, make some new ones. But apparently that just escaped them, and that just kept going. The box sets got more and more obscure characters that no one had heard of and nobody wanted, to the point where it was so easy to go after a show and buy it straight from FunPub's official website. And meanwhile, if you look at the subscription service, oh my god, they got some fantastic repaints. You know, that's where we got Slipstream and Thrustinator and Barricade and these incredibly cool ideas that could have been the basis for really cool BotCon sets. No, we're just gonna shovel that out there. They got like that really good G2 Optimus Deluxe. They got him as Scourge. How did they get to release that? Seriously. BotCon is supposed to be this really fun celebration of Transformers. It's supposed to be a way of getting community together and making friends with people that you only know from the internet and share the same obsession you do. But as the years went on, it seemed like the creativity and the interest waned, and it became more about creating a money cow that Brian Savage just milked to death. Producing just overexpensive repaints over and over and over that basically nobody really wanted, aside from a couple here and there. And if you want proof that the community aspect of BotCon was just completely flushed down the toilet, when in 2010, when I had access to the forum, it was ancient and barely worked then, and they never did anything to improve it. The one little community aspect they could have provided, and no, they never really tried. And I think as the years went on, they just stopped trying. You can see that when they hired a whole bunch of voiceover artists for 1 year, with Steve Bloom being the main guest. And this was during Transformer Prime's final season, so obviously the rest of the voice actors were from Rescue Bots. During the fan convention. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why? I don't know. I don't know why. The replacement for all of this was called Hascon. A couple years after BotCon's demise, we got a brand new convention that celebrated everything Hasbro, except it didn't really feel like a celebration. Here's what happens. Apparently, the people who went had a good time, and there's a decent enough guest list, but it is a little bit waning in certain areas. The dealer's room, I heard, was completely abysmal and mostly dominated by Magic the Gathering dealers, and you have a universal problem with this, is that you created a family event, not a collector's event. And because you didn't create a collector's event, the big whales that come out and spend thousands of dollars at these conventions don't show up, which means the retailers who go there to set up those big expensive booths so you can sell more tables in the dealer's room, that doesn't show up. So you end up producing something that could have been really, really cool, and then, The problem with a concept like that is you're not really celebrating your own brands. You're basically saying, look how cool we are. Look at all the stuff we made. This is all about us. See, when you go to a BotCon, the good BotCons felt like a celebration of Transformers and the fandom they're in, and Hascon just felt like a corporate vehicle where we're just kind of showing off all the cool brands that we're in charge of. And I get it. You want to make sure it's a success, so you have all of your brands represented. You draw in fans from all of them at the same time. But what happens is you draw people there, but they don't have a whole lot to do once they get there. If a My Little Pony fan goes to Hascon, they're there to get an autograph or two, see a couple panels that day that are scheduled, and then they have nothing to do. They're not going to go to the G.I. Joe panel. They're not going to go to the Transformer panel, the D&D panel. They're just done. They're just completely done for the day. And that means you've got a lot of people there who are basically twiddling their thumbs. So unless they're playing Magic the Gathering, they don't really have a whole lot to do for the rest of the day. And this is the problem with big conventions that are strewn about of all of these fandoms, but not producing things for specifically the collectors. I don't know why Hascon number 2 was canceled, but hopefully it has something to do with this, and they can correct that and evolve it so that the next time they do Hascon, we might actually get something that celebrates the fandoms rather than just feeling like a really big, expensive commercial. Here's one I am irrationally angry over and I almost did an entire video based just on this because this is how much it irritated me. And then I realized it was really stupid to do a whole video because of a marketing scheme. So Thrilling 30 was a really nice Transformer line that did celebrate the anniversary of Transformers and gave us a little bit of representation from everywhere within those 30 years. That's not what I'm complaining about here. I am complaining about the Thrilling 30 campaign itself. 30 toys that were selected out from all of these releases this year, and these were the special ones. The boxes were numbered, 1 of 30, 2 of 30, so you could collect 30 special toys that were the ultimate collection for the anniversary of Transformers. Nice idea. Here's your problem. Everything after that was your problem. So when you're looking at those toys, the first thing you're going to notice is 2 of them are Metroplex, and they aren't even the retail release of Metroplex, not the Takara release. One is the San Diego Comic-Con release, the other one is exclusive to a convention in Hong Kong. And you had to get both of them. You had to get repeat Metroplexes in incredibly expensive venues to get 2 of the 30 numbers. Oh, and it gets so good beyond there. So you want to know what the final numbers were released? What the final number was? It wasn't 30. It was 18, preceded by 16 and 17. They didn't even release them in order. There were two Masterpiece releases as part of this lineup, and the numbers were reversed. So the Masterpiece that came out later was numbered earlier. That's a special kind of brilliant right there. And then we have things like number 14 that never appeared on a packaging, and 2 different sets claimed that number at some point. Number 28 was used twice. That was a really genius moment. Let's see. It's just, the incompetence stuns me. And the big thing is that Thrilling 30 as a toy line included a new Skybite, a new Rhinox, it included a Tankor, it included toys that were genuinely it included an Armada Starscream. Do you think any of those were listed in the Thrilling 30? No, they were not. They were mostly Age of Extinction multi-packs with Silver Optimus Primes and Transformer Prime repaints and repaint packs. It could have been something really cool. It could have been a really cool celebration and 30 really cool toys to have on display together. Instead, it was an absolute joke and an insult that anyone would try this marketing strategy when it was so obviously an afterthought that nobody at Hasbro was actually paying attention to. Are you sick of G1 yet? Apparently nobody is, because we're still getting G1. As I record this, we're gearing up for Kingdom, which is named after the Animal Kingdom, which has a ton of Beast Wars characters in it, and it's still half Generation 1. And this is coming at a time when Studio Series, a movie toy line that's all about the live-action movies, is going to move into the 86 cast, which means more G1. So Studio Series is going to be G1, Generations is going to be half G1 after being G1 for the last decade, and then I think on top of it, we're still getting Cyberverse toys that are kind of G1 set basis, because they're all evergreen designs that are kind of G1. It's aggravating. If you grew up with Armada and the Unicron trilogy in general, that early 2000s stretch of Transformers, you were used to new characters and new designs and new ideas coming all the time, and that made Transformers kind of exciting. What we've had since then has just been rehash and repeat over and over and over ad nauseum, because Hasbro is dependent on the nostalgia market, and it's dependent on having the big characters in every single line, so retailers know these are going to sell. We're kind of trapped. As collectors who want something new, we are trapped in a system that has to depend on those who always want more of the same. The same type of collector who buys every single Spider-Man that comes out, even if it's the same red and blue with the black webbing design that's been released forever, who buys every single Iron Man, even though they're all the same, red and gold. That kind of thing. And we're still stuck in that cycle. We should be lucky that they even decide to redo the engineering as things go on. We could be like the Rescue Bots line, and every Optimus Prime has the exact same transformation. At least we get some difference in that. But no, everything on the toy shelves right now is at least partially in G1. And when 2021 gets here, we're going to lose the last bastion of difference with the movie line, going with the animated movie instead. So, I really want Hasbro to be adventurous again. I hope Kingdom sells phenomenally, so they kind of get the idea, we want something new already. Who remembers the Primes? Do you remember the build-up to the primes, how we started hearing about this concept where there were, in the beginning, there were 13 original Transformers, the 13 that Primus created to first combat Unicron. This was a little thing that got snuck into the Transformer mythos and is one of those concepts that just kind of flourished in the same way that the Matrix and the Allspark and Sparks in general became part of the bigger Transformers universe. So too did the concept of the Primes. We got very little touches here and there of what they were. We found out that Vector Prime was one of the 13. We found out the Fallen was one of the 13. Liege Maximo was one of the 13. Little bit by bit, we started piecing together what the roster was, but the big question was, when are they getting toys? When are we actually going to see these 13 Transformer demigods on toy shelves? And not that crap Fallen that came out during his movie. That one barely counts. And not the Titanium either, though it is that one is actually kind of cool. No, when are we getting like the real Fallen? When are we getting the real 13? And the answer came with Power of the Primes. Power of the Primes was finally going to do the 13 Primes as toys, and they're Titan Masters. They're just heads. They're not even heads. They didn't have faces on them. They had like logos on them we've never seen before. No. They were Matrix cores. And now I like this idea that I kind of like this idea that every Prime has their own Matrix that they pass down and has different abilities. The Matrix of leadership is all about wisdom, etc. But I hate this idea that we've been waiting for so long. We've seen so many cool concept designs. In Prime, we got little teasers of what the Primes actually looked like. We saw little glimpses of what they could be, and that's all we have so far. Just a few leftover toys that were retroactively named part of the 13, and a bunch of little heads that hide in tiny pretender shells. That used to be a really exciting concept. It used to be. And it was really depressing. I really wanted that to be cool. I think everyone wanted that to be cool because it was something new in the mythos. And it turned out to be nothing but a bunch of crap heads. So here's something that should have been like a whole scandal in and of itself. And it certainly was. It was certainly a point of contention amongst Transformer collectors. But this is one of those things where like it should have been in the news and like big bold print where Hasbro is on point for being like anti-woman because they think every woman should look the same or be the same. You know, one of those kind of campaigns should have been rallied against them. Because for a while there, and this isn't even all that long ago, Hasbro decided we're finally going to give brand new toys to a whole bunch of these female Autobots that have been lingering since Generation 1. We're going to give Firestar and Moonracer and all those from the search for Alpha Trion that we in the fandom have known about since we were kids. They were finally going to get toys. Now, remember how obscure a lot of these G1 characters have been. We have characters who only appear for like one episode that have gotten brand new toys. Skids, who had one line in the entirety of Generation 1 Transformers, got a new toy. You know? So, if we're looking at things like that, then yes, all those female Autobots should absolutely get new figures. And Elita 1 got a Starscream remold for some reason. I don't know. It wasn't even like IDW based. It was just like, she's a jet now, even though she was never a jet. No, and then we take a look at, we got a Moonracer first, and then Nova Star came out, and she was a remold, and that was fine. You know, we kind of expected that. But to complete the combiner, they eventually started putting out Greenlight and Lancer, and they were remolds as well. They were they're basically just repaints of the same mold, and it wasn't even a really good mold, was it? No, like the vehicle hangs off their back, and they have big clown shoes, so they can actually maintain balance with their big backpacks. Every single female and G1 ended up being the same mold, with the exception of RC and Elita 1. If you were a female G1 in character in G1 beyond that, you were done. You were just screwed out of this. Even Chromia, who got a really cool IDW based toy earlier that was like a redo of Prime RC, which is fine because that's a really nice toy. That Chromia was a really nice toy. They ended up redoing Chromia with the exact same mold, except worse because this one didn't even get the combiner block, so you couldn't even add her to the female combiner. Oh, and then they did Night Racer too, because hey, let's double down on this. Let's make the first U.S. Nightbird. I keep saying Night Racer. Nightbird. Can you see how, like, flustered this is making me? Because this is so stupid. They weren't even willing to make one new mold. All of those characters had to share one mold, one look, one design, and it's disgusting. Especially when you actually watch back that episode and realize a lot of them don't look even remotely like that. Or they turn into things that are not that little, like, hot dog shaped car that Moonracer turned into. It was just, it's such a bad look. You know, it's so disrespectful for, like, the origins of female Transformers in Transformers as a whole. It was just, it's an ugly sight. And I really hope that those characters reach a level of prominence to where maybe we can give them a better shakedown someday. You know, I kind of want to see those characters rehashed, at least so they can get some kind of decent toy. Until then, basically we're stuck with, if you've played with one female Autobot, you've played with them all. So whether it was a cost concern or a security concern, for one reason or another, Hasbro decided to uplift all of their Transformer production and send it over to factories in Vietnam. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Business is business. The problem is, ever since they moved it to Vietnam, we've gotten some iffy quality control in toy lines where quality control should not be an issue. And that goes for Transformers Masterpiece. And I don't know what happened, but for some reason Masterpiece became a toy line that you couldn't pre-order. You couldn't be one of the first adopters. You had to wait for someone else to get one in hand and then immediately go to a forum or a YouTube page somewhere where you could get immediate feedback on this toy to find out what you had to fix when yours came in. Was it a joint that was too tight? Was it a gear that locked up? Was it a leg that was prone to breaking off if you transformed it too quickly? Or was it a part that snapped all on its own? No matter what you did, it's gonna break on you. Because we kind of ran the gambit of all of those, didn't we? From Beast Wars Megatron and MP Dinobot, MP Convoy 3.0, the $400 toy, I will remind you. We had all of Hound. Everything on Hound was just a mess. We had Lio Convoy. My friend snapped 2 Lio Convoys at the chest hinge because of how badly engineered it was. And I don't know if this is like a factory thing, taking too many shortcuts, or thinking, oh, well, this can handle this, and it can't. Takara expecting tolerances to be stronger, expecting paint to be better, whatever. I don't care. It turned out that whatever is going on really screwed up the one toy line that should never screw up. It's Masterpiece. And Masterpiece means it should be absolutely perfect. Everything out of the box should be absolutely pristine, as good as it can possibly be, especially if you're asking $400. $400? Nothing should be wrong with that toy right out of the box at $400. Not a thing. But that is like the fate we live in. I have not bought a Masterpiece toy in a long time. Well, that's not true. I bought MP Black Arachnia, but I didn't do it until I had reviews that said nothing broke. And because that's what you have to do now, and it didn't used to be that way. MP used to be the line you always counted on, and now it's a line you count on to let you down in one way or another. And we just kind of have to live with that, and it sucks because that is the one place where you should never get anything wrong, and for whatever reason it just seems to become a thing, and it's a thing that has to stop. And that's just 10 of the things that Hasbro or Takara, someone involved in Transformers, has screwed up in the last 10 years. Those are just the ones that came off the top of my head. There's plenty more. And of course, this doesn't even get into bad toys that came out. Like, we just got, as of this recording, we just got the satellite sound wave in the studio series, and I have heard nothing but wonderful things. So maybe we'll see that one someday. There's a lot I need to cover at some point. I really have to get back to this, don't I? But for now, I will leave it here, and if you've got other ideas for the ways Hasbro screwed up, please let me know. I'm sure we could fill another one of these top 10s, no problem. Until then, once again, I am the Plastic Addict, punishing painful plastic. Or in this case, a painful past, so that it may be learned from and not repeated anymore.